Take 3. Come in the Spider's web. 3-down football sports world from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and learn everything you need to know about Spider's proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule. And my first introduction of this, because of all the talk in Halifax about the Atlantic Schooners becoming the first coast-to-coast in Canada CFL franchise team, I happened to call into the Rick Howe's talk show in Halifax and launch this for the first time. Here is the recording.
Welcome back. An open hour underway here till 11 o'clock, and that means anything goes, and all you have to do is give us a call. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's go back to the Falls where Spider's been patiently waiting to have a say here this morning. Hi, Spider. How you doing, sir?
Well, the talk's so bad.
Yeah, you're kind of coming in real fading. You're not coming in real clear.
Better?
That's a little bit better. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because the music's interfering in the background.
All right,
I'm going to launch something first here because of something you said the other day really sparked me to do this. When you said something about, it's a good point, well, in Nova Scotia, everybody watches NFL, not CFL. I did a survey. It took me 3.5 years to do a survey and that same concept.
Yep.
Why do so many so-called Canadians, I call them, in Canada, only watch the NFL and don't even watch their own brand of CFL 3-down football in their own country? So I did a survey right across the country. I've been to many Grey Cups and practically every stadium in the CFL across Canada, and I listened to people, and I did a survey, and I come up with a rule, and I presented it to the CFL, the Commissioner, on January 31st of this year, a formal 1-hour presentation, because they were very interested in my rule.
Well, what did you discover in this survey?
Well, I discovered that the Canadian ratio was an issue because in every other professional sports leagues they allow they can recruit the best available players, right? And they're not handcuffed by a Canadian ratio, including MSL soccer. But the other major complaints is how I come up with this rule, where I'm going to launch very soon nationally. And the last person I surveyed, Steve Armitage, was sold on it big time. He's behind it, stamp approval.
Yeah, but again, why Spider? How did you determine? Why is it the Maritimers are more interested in the NFL than the CFL?
Well, the thing is, in my concept, in my rule that I'm just going to brief you on the SAC, with the complaints within the 3-down game versus the 4-down game, why so many Canadians watch NFL and CFL was mainly the 2-and-outs, because the 2-and-outs don't exist in the NFL,
yeah.
and more magnified in the red zone. So then you end up at a basically 2-down football game in the red zone, resulting in an easy chip shot field goal. So what I did, I come up with a rule that eliminates 2-and-outs in the red zone and eliminates easy chip shots field goals completely, entirely.
So you'd like a rule change to kind of,
but at the same time, it still deserves a 3-down game. And you're going to hear all about it because I'm going to do a YouTube 3-part session on it starting very soon. I'm meeting with Steve Armitage very soon on this. He's behind it 100%.
Yeah.
And the rule is so catchy, and what it does is unbelievable. Spider's proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule. I even got hats. Wait till you see the YouTube set.
Well, you let us know when this is all set up that we can access it.
It's going to be sensational.
I'm sure, but you let us know when it's ready to go, and we'll pass that on, Spider.
Well, I'll get on. Just one thing I'll read. One thing here was so phenomenal about it. Okay, my CFL Red-Zone Rule, it cannot be stolen by the NFL because it simply unequivocally would not work with 4-down football, but will work naturally and perfectly with 3-down football like it was meant for and tailor-made for CFL football, and it would solely belong to the CFL, not the NFL. At the same time, it will still remarkably preserve our CFL 3-down game.
All right, well, listen, again, when you get that website of yours set up, you get that website set up, Spider, we'll certainly pass that on, sir. 902-405-6000.
There you go. That is it. I was quite nervous, as you could tell. I stumbled over some of my words. because I decided to call in spontaneously and basically improvised, and obviously rushed what I had to say because of the limited amount of time allowed or allocated to speak. So I apologize for that and the poor recording. I used a old portable small recorder, tape recorder, to record it, and should have used an online voice recorder player to record it and play it back. And also, I just like to clarify some of my comments I made. And I'm going to go to the set, and here we are. It's the first of three-part set, YouTube set, and I just got to dress it up a little bit, rearrange it a bit on the back of the bar. So I'm going there right now. So just hold on. Just going to change a few things. It's just me. I don't have no production team or anything like that. It's homemade. Spider's homemade YouTube set. I'll soon be there. Just got to change this monitor. I probably should have had someone here with me. But now that there you go, I can see myself. That's all good. And I'm Spider. I'm Spider. So, how you do? How you do? Well, I want to begin by trying to chronologically go over this with you, how this all materialized and took place, and why I'm here today on YouTube to explain this all to you. All the CFL fans and all the younger generation fans in Canada and NFL only fans in Canada watch the CFL, and all sports fans in general. But because I think it's very important in our country in Canada that you know what transpired here. In 2015, around that time, or just prior to that, when Mark Cohen was still commissioner, I presented this to Mark Cohen, and Mr. McDonald, VP of Football Operations at the CFL, was very interested in my rule proposal and told me to be persistent. And when Mark Cohen actually left, he sent an email and told me that. I had a lot of respect for Mark Cohen as the commissioner, a lot of respect. What happened after that, in 2016, Mr. Johnson called me. He became very interested, and which I really respected because he took the initiative, probably talked to Mr. McDonald about this, and wanted me to go over my rule. And I actually had two versions of the rule. I had a CFL first version, Red-Zone Rule, first version of my rule, and I had a second version of my CFL Red-Zone Rule. And I presented both to him, and we spoke on the phone close to an hour. And then we spoke again, and he became very, very interested in presenting it to the CFL and the CFL Rules Committee. So he drafted up two drafts, my first version and second version, and also presented he told me he presented mine as well. So, but his probably were focused on more, and they weren't like nearly detailed or explained like the way I explain my both versions of my CFL Red-Zone Rule, unfortunately. And what happened, because they were quite vague, because actually he was supposed to send me copies of them, but actually Mr. Lawless got it either from a GM or a coach, and he actually posted part of it on, or basically the way it was presented on the draft by Mr. Johnson to the CFL Rules Committee and the CFL on an article at TSN. And I copied it, and it was quite vague. And I actually heard him on the radio talking about it, and he was quite excited about it. He said, "Oh, this came from a CFL fan, and the CFL are really interested in this." But I don't think because of the vagueness of it, because it wasn't fully detailed in Mr. Johnson's draft, that he fully understood it as well. And I actually, just to conclude on this part of it, I sent an email to Jeff Hunt, who I respect, the Ottawa Red Blacks CEO, and he said it was just, it was talked to. He said refresh my memory because he remembered it was talked to once on the CFL, the new rule CFL competition committee that Mr. Johnson put together, which actually he put together after he had a long discussion with me after he presented the CFL Red-Zone Rule, and he actually didn't let it go to a final vote because he said he wanted to preserve it and to protect it, because he told me that because of basically ego and the fact that I came up with it, a fan came up with it myself as a CFL fan, and basically he said outdone. They felt they outdone the CFL Rules Committee because they were more interested in more challenge flags. We'll get into that in a second. And so they didn't give it the time of day, and it was mainly because of ego, and they didn't even allow it to be fully presented. So what happened, they just basically, tossed it aside, didn't even know really anything about all the features and benefits and all the advantages of adopting it, and didn't even really care to know because it wasn't theirs. So it was very unfair, and Mr. Johnson confirmed that with me. So what he wanted to do is concentrate on my second version that he was really sold on, and make a smaller, more selective competition committee that could actually overrule the CFL Rules Committee when it came to a new rule like my rule, my CFL Red-Zone Rule, that actually was a deal with the entertainment value, and it's selling entertainment and excitement, the entertainment value part of our CFL game, to make our CFL game more exciting, more entertaining to watch. So, and because, and actually to tell you what happened, because of what they did, the CFL Rules Committee deliberately just, tossed it. They chose not even to allow it to be fully presented by Mr. Johnson or myself, or the combination of both of us, because that's what we were going to do, to go with more challenges. And they were very, let's face it, detested, despised, and practically destroyed our three-down game and made it unwatchable. So that's what they chose over my CFL Red-Zone Rule. So that's why I'm here. So what happened, I actually sent a copy. I refined it more, my second version. I worked on them on. Mr. Johnson wanted me to work on them on to make it 100% foolproof. So I refined it more, and I sent it to the new commissioner, Mr. Ambrosi, and explained everything that took place. He said, well, it was presented, but it wasn't really, I told him, presented fully, or not even one bit, presented professionally, covering all the features and benefits and all the advantages of adopting it, and why it should be made part of our CFL three-down game. So he actually, I'll give him credit for it. He became interested, and he allowed me to do a full 1 hour presentation on January 31st of this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I made up an agenda. I really worked on this, and he allowed me an hour presentation. So what I did, I made up an agenda, CFL Red-Zone Rule presentation by CFL super fan Spider. And you can see the diagram with the 20-yard line outlined in red, and the number 20 outlined in red, for the red zone, for my rule, to put emphasis on it, and okay, the CFL Red Zone Rule field diagram, I called it. And what I did, I came up with, I sent him this prior to my presentation, and also detailed him on my final finished product, so he's aware of what was going on, and so he could review it, and so he'd understand it, quite easily when I did the presentation. So CFL Red-Zone Rule presentation layout agenda I sent to him, and CFL Red-Zone Rule presentation introduction, main proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule presentation, which consists of 4 segments and 2 question and answer input discussion sessions. I decided to use football terms and call them quarters. The first quarter segment will be the finished product and the final rules of the second version of the proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule. The second quarter segment will be the main objectives, features, and benefits and advantages of my proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule, then followed by the first half time 15-minute input discussion period. The third quarter segment will be the business side and opportunities in marketing and branding of the proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule, and the fourth quarter segment will be closing key selling points and wrap up, followed by my last half 15-minute input discussion session. Total presentation time 30 minutes plus 30 minutes of discussion plus 15 minutes of overtime. Well, we went almost to an hour, and I will read just part of my presentation intro, and then my second session, YouTube session, will be with the panel. As you can see, these three hats, there'll be three of us, and we will present, okay, the full presentation, okay, less part of the intro that I'm going to read you, okay? So I did a brief, okay, about myself, just, and then I went into how and why I came up with the proposed new CFL Red-Zone Rule. 4.5 years ago, I decided to do a survey why so many Canadian sports fans in Canada only watch NFL 4-down football and don't watch our own brand of CFL 3-down football in our own country, which I believe could be a first and unprecedented by a CFL fan. And what I found in my findings in the survey I conducted, outside the obvious impressionables, 32 NFL teams, big full stadiums, their marketing, branding, coverage, hype, betting, and their big money, relating to our 3-down game itself versus their 4-down game, were consistent legitimate complaints about our 3-down game and clear advantages 4-down football have over 3-down football. That were too much kicking in the CFL and way too many field goals and way too many tune-outs, and they said that don't even exist in the NFL, and said even a bigger turnoff, too many unappealing 2-and-out second down stops in the red zone that results in more boring, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals that they said they can't watch, and said the NFL, with 4 downs, there are a lot more first downs to keep drives going and more touchdowns in the red zone, because they said in the CFL they are basically playing with only 2 downs to get a first down to keep the drives going and to score a touchdown in the red zone, because they said the 3rd down in the CFL is hardly ever used, and I found mostly all who only watch NFL football, and there are a lot of them all over Canada, they don't even watch the Grey Cup, which is a serious problem that the CFL needs to address and fix. So what I did was I applied a simple sales concept remedy formula. If a product is taking your market share and is in more popular demand and has more appealing features and benefits and selling advantages than your product has, then you have to come up with a product as good and as competitive so you can compete, or even better, come up with a better product that has better and more appealing selling features and benefits than your competition. And that's exactly what I did here. And when I exposed it to every single person I surveyed for over 3.5 years, who were all mesmerized by it and really sold on it, and asked me, how did you come up with it? I said, by listening, watching, and doing my homework. And I actually had 2 versions and called it the Inside the Red Zone Rule and changed it to simply the proposed new CFL Red Zone Rule, and then decided to focus only on the second version of the rule. Okay, so now we're ready for the second, probably most important set, and that's to learn about SPYDER'S proposed new CFL Red Zone Rule and the final finished product, and the presentation itself that I made to the Commissioner of the CFL and 2 other people from his executive or non-executive body of staff at the CFL. So I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to see you quite shortly, and you will get both, actually, number 2 and number 3 back to back. Okay? Thank you for listening. I'm Spider. Take care. Bye now.